Welcome back, everyone, to the Waypoint podcast. We know we just had one recently. Usually we give a couple weeks in between these, but there's just so much stuff to talk about. Let's just get straight into everything. Of course, as always, I'm joined by the one and onlys, Chin, Lethal, LittleBobby. Say hello real quick, guys.
Hello.
Hola.
What's up?
There we go. All right. Without any further ado, let's just get straight into it. First little order of business is Dead Space Remake has officially got a release date for January 27th, 2023. I'm personally haven't played Dead Space in forever, so I don't know which of you guys is a big Dead Space fan, but take it away if you have it.
I played it on stream for 5.9 back in like July, I think. July last year. I love that game. I think it is so much fun. Really good horror. It actually holds up really well. Like today, like the controls feel really good. The graphics, the atmosphere, everything. Like that is a solid staple in EA's lineup of questionable games. It's not a questionable game, but you know, most of their games.
I was curious where you're going with that one. I was like, oh man,
Battlefield. I've heard it so many times already. It hurts my heart. Just bash it. Just do it.
I don't want to bash Battlefield. I love it.
I love Battlefield too, man. I love Battlefield.
2042 is so bad.
It is.
It breaks my heart. Yep. But you know, maybe it'll be better. But Dead Space, I'm like really excited. Lethal, I think it was your tweet that I saw, right? That you were like, I had no idea this was going to be this soon, right? Like you were like,
yeah, dude, they showed it off last year, which isn't an issue. They can show it off like, you know, a couple months before it wants to come out. But even then, it was just like a CG teaser, I think, or not even that. I think it was like a title splash, and I was like, oh, we got a title splash last year, and now it's coming out January 27, 2023. I was like, whoa, that seems mad quick. But to be fair, they did do some cool little developer diary things where they were like showing off like when they were like designing the character model and some of the enemies and how they were going back and forth between the original to the new. Like they actually showed stuff, so I can kind of believe it, but I'm not going to be surprised if they push it back. I just feel like it's going to get pushed back. I don't know why, but
I mean, there's always a chance. I mean, was it Dead Space 3 that was not well received?
Yeah, Dead Space 3 was really poorly received.
That's what I
But
thought.
it's not bad. I played it with my buddy. Like, it has the problem that like Resident Evil had, where once it dipped into co-op, it just got really action-y rather than like really horror-filled. So it was like more like of adrenaline, like thriller kind of like horror, as opposed to like jump scares. And I guess just people just didn't like that, but I thought it was fun.
Okay.
I would say for Dead Space, like I'm excited about this remake because Dead Space was like my favorite when I worked for EA. That was my favorite game that I got to work on, right? So being able to like play it again and hopefully have them like, you know, I'm 50-50 on do I want like a faithful remake, right? Versus do I want them to tweak some stuff? They added a lot of cool stuff with number 2. And I think that would be great to like put that into one, like some of the control things and some of the physics changes that they made. But otherwise, like Dead Space was cool. It was very stylish, right? It was dark, like you barely see anything. It's obviously like the cutting off of the limbs was really cool from a horror perspective instead of just like, hey, just shoot the zombies, right? You had to really kind of be strategic, especially on like the impossible difficulty or whatever it was. And all that was like super fun, man. And getting to like, I was a tester for EA, so getting to do that and see it before everybody else, I was like, I want to talk about this game, but I can't. But it's really cool. Like I was like, I think I remember telling Chin, because Chin was, what was that, 15 years ago? So you were like 10. And I was like, this game's gonna be really cool. It's going to be real. I can't tell you about it, but it's going to be really cool.
He did say that. And you know what I was more hyped about? Spore.
He was.
Oh, God.
Anybody here play Spore?
Is that the one? I just remember it was like creatures, isn't like creatures or whatever.
You start as like a little amoeba in the ocean, and you go through all the stages of life.
That.
Like
That's funny.
Growing legs and a brain and becoming an omnivore or herbivore, and then you become like a tribe, and then you build a city, and then you conquer space. I love that game, dude.
I also tested
What was Dead Space 1? Was it... Oh. Was Dead Space 1 like 360?
Yeah.
360.
I thought so.
Yep,
Yeah. I was like, it's not Xbox, way too early, but it was definitely 360. Okay.
It was fall 2008, because I started
Oh
EA,
man, making
early
me feel
2000s.
old.
Yeah. Talent, I worked on that game, and now they're like, oh, 15 years later, here's a remake.
On that game, man.
And I'm like, oh god, my time is over here.
Yeah.
But it's really pretty cool to
we'll
see
see
that. I hope they take that and they run with it, like remake number 2 as well. Leave 3 by the wayside because it wasn't that great.
Or if they do 3 again, make sure they don't do anything from 3, and they just make it how it was supposed to for you guys. So.
Yeah, make it like that survival horror, like slow burn, really creepy atmosphere. Like that's what was cool. And not to say that 3 didn't have a creepy atmosphere, but it definitely was more like we're in this to get your adrenaline pumping now, like in the action thing, right? It's all of a sudden Isaac turns into like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's just like got a minigun, and he's like, brrr, right? It's like, that doesn't feel great. Yeah. That doesn't feel like Dead Space.
I agree. I feel like that's what I would want to see too, just because it's something that it's nice to see like another type of game out there for the horror genre. So something like that, I think for me, I definitely want to see. But like keeping it just strictly horror. Don't pull no like late Resident Evil type stuff. Just keep it strictly scary.
Yep.
That's what I would want to see.
Exactly what they need to do. Exactly. All right. So in the spirit of just moving forward, next we have some news that 505 Games is going to have their own showcase on May 17th, which is in 3 days. A little early ahead of the Xbox and all the others that we'd expect around the usual E3 timing. But what do you guys expect to see from 505 Games? Anything in particular?
Control 2.
Yeah, I was going to say
that's literally the only game I think anybody wants to really see right now.
One game. All right, we got it.
Yeah, let's get that, because they're working on some cool stuff. I will give them the stuff with like Remedy Entertainment, and them just working on like this cool like connected universe with like Alan Wake. Yeah, now they have Alan Wake 2 coming out, so like it's pretty cool. I like what they're doing, and so if a Control 2 is like definitely like, well, we know they had like I think unannounced projects, and I don't know if it was ever confirmed, but like I think one was definitely going to be Control 2, but then they also had mentioned, and this was again not a confirmed thing, but there was talks about them working on a multiplayer game set in the Control world. And so to me, that sounds kind of cool. Like Control was such a, like, who played Control? Like I think we all have, right? I think that was one of those like rad. Just that was one of those games where I was playing it and I was like halfway through like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I just know I'm, upgrading the gun and like trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this place. You're supposed to be the director, and then like I don't know. You're just confused majority of the time. But there's it's a cool thing. Like I think 2, if they continue the same thing as 1, it's cool, even though you don't really know it. Like you definitely have to go back in and like pay attention to all the little things to try to grasp something on it. But just for it being whatever the hell that it is, it's exciting for me at least.
Yeah, I think Control was a really interesting game, and you're right, Lethal. It was like halfway through the game, you're like, what the hell am I doing? Like, what is going on?
They went in with the psych part, the psychological stuff. Yeah, they went in. I think that's what they were aiming for. Yeah.
And to me, that was really fun, really interesting, because you don't get a lot of games that really like, even like horror or games that say they're, psychological. They're not that like cerebral in terms of like twisting everything around on you as you're playing, which I thought was like the best part of the story of Control. Was like, story is like woman trying to find her brother, right? That's the story. But then you get all these weird, like this whole building is like alive and everything about it is weird, and it really kind of just takes you through these crazy twists and turns the whole time, and I love that. And I think Control's really, I want to say it's underrated, but like people loved it when it came out, and then everybody just stopped talking about it. It's one of those games, right? It's like Weird Al. Weird Al comes out with a record and everybody loves it, and then like 3 months later, nobody remembers Weird Al exists anymore. But
I think that. Oh no, keep going.
I was gonna say, like Control coming out with a sequel, if they can keep it just as interesting, maybe use the same setting, but keep that spirit of the building is alive, and so when you go in, it's totally different. Updated from like that 60s theme that the original one had. I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of Control, you know, being a game that I totally played, and I'm not just trying to fit in right now, is when you were really.
He's saying that he's eating his dinner right now. Like,
just get it out there. Just get it out there. Just get it out there.
You know, like.
All right, now cut him off. No, I'm just kidding.
It was such a fun game.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's how much we're excited for this showcase.
Than us blindly doing it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's. I think that.
How did you like it?
Great. A lot of fun with the ray tracing and the powers. Feeling like I was really in control. Like, so much more than I've ever been before.
I've never had so much control. And that's really what it was all about.
I'll play it one day, I promise.
Or you can get it on Steam or something for like $5.
I have it.
He has it on PS5 because it was free.
You have it and you haven't even played
I was
it?
gonna say it's been on PS Plus. I don't know if it was on Epic or not, but it's
I think it
definitely
was like
been up
free
there.
on Epic at one point.
Yeah,
or
it was
something
free on
like that.
Epic.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think
PS
it's like been
Plus.
free almost everywhere at some point.
It's like it's in my library.
It was one of the first PS5 like upgrade games that they gave away for free.
Yeah.
I think something like that.
Well,
yeah.
if you had the Ultimate Edition, but still.
Oh yeah, I think it was something like that. Yeah.
All right. Well, regardless, we're hoping that we get to see some kind of Control 2 or something within the Control universe. We're hoping for. Just stay away from live service. Don't do live service. Don't do live service. Please, no live service. Knock it off.
Yeah, like some games work for live service, some don't. Just don't.
Some don't. Yes, and a majority of them don't because they're not made for it. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on because I can go ranting about live services forever. Anyway, moving on. If you guys have not seen it on our channel already, we had a quick breakdown of the Gotham Knights demo trailer that we got that showed off both Nightwing and Red Hood. It was a good solid 13 minutes, Lethal. You covered it on the channel. It was 13 minutes of gameplay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And,
yeah, it focused a lot on two characters.
Right.
Go ahead, finish it up.
We'll get into like, you know, what it's coming out on and the controversy around that and everything, but I've seen a lot of mixed feelings about that demo trailer. So Lethal, since you broke everything down, why don't you give us your thoughts on it first, starting off? How did you feel about it? What did you think was good, bad, so all that stuff? Just let us know your thoughts.
So, initial thoughts and impressions. I am a little biased. I am a big Batman fan. And so, of course, anything set in Gotham, I'm going to like it. And I'm probably going to love it just because I get to walk around in Gotham, right? I mean, part of me wishes I could live in Gotham. Do I really mean that? I don't know. But I definitely like the Gotham area a lot. And obviously this game lets you do that. And so you also get to play with other, characters in the Bat family. So being able to play as Nightwing, right? Or at least to focus on like Nightwing, Red Hood, Robin, and even Batgirl. Like that's so freaking cool that they've included Batgirl. And I would like to hope to think that maybe they include more characters into the future, but they did say, this isn't going to be a live service game. But you might want to argue after watching the little demo that they did and think that, hey, this looks like this was like originally made to be a live service. There's a lot of people who don't like some of the combat. They're like, this looks like crap in comparison to like the Arkham series, which keep in mind, different developers, but also I always try to say too, like, those were just focused, right? I think purely on action, whereas this one is trying to be more of an RPG, right? I mean, it's straight up an action RPG, and you can obviously tell by like the elements, the fact that you get gear, loot, there's like, stats, all that stuff, right? To identify that it's definitely have a lot of RPG influence to it, but it does lack that combat that the other games had, which I think is the main issue that even I'm having a little bit with it, but I haven't played it. Right, so it's hard for me to even say that. Plus, I don't know, whatever footage they showed, maybe it wasn't the greatest footage either. But regardless, that I think is what the major downfall is. That people are just looking at it and like, ooh, I don't know if I like that. And then people also think the graphics don't look too good. And for me, they don't look terrible. But I would honestly look at that and say, okay, Talon, you brought up earlier, right? This is when you're releasing on current gen consoles, which is your PS5, your Series X, and your PC. So when you look at that, I mean, that to me doesn't look like that's going to be a current gen thing. It looked like, again, again, it just looked like its development at some point they just cut it and we're like, you know what, screw it. We got this working really good on PS5 and Series X. Like, screw the rest. We're gonna keep going through a bunch of crap, and they probably want to get the game out on time and all that. And so I think, you know, again, it has those things where you're like, I can see some of these cons or some of these like oof kind of moments. But I think overall, you know, I think it looks fun. I'm looking at it to have a fun time. I'm not looking at it to be like a masterpiece of a game, right? I just want to run around Gotham. Like, that's all I want to do. Let me just be Nightwing. You take out the Fortnite glider that they're showing off, and just have some fun. Like, that's what I'm looking for.
If I could, not to interject too much, but like 2 points you just made. One, well, maybe not a point, but let me make a point based on something you said where they cut it to just current gen. I feel like that what we saw was probably the last build that maybe worked on last gen, and they probably look at it too, and they're probably like, we could do better than this. Here's what we have, and this is kind of basically what the game's going to be. But I feel like even they're like, this could be better, and it's probably going to be better, especially now that they could just focus everything on new stuff.
Yeah, that game could go back into the oven and it could bake for some more, but I don't know what, you know, WB's plans are. So but they maybe just want to get that out and just get it done with. But it's definitely looking like a game that could have sat back in that oven definitely a bit more.
Yeah.
Also, another point you made is just like, you just want to have fun. And I feel like a huge problem with games today is that people put so much high expectations on games to be masterpieces. I get it. I get it. You know,
it has to be life changing.
That'd be life changing. I get it when you look at games like, maybe you compare something like Horizon or Elden Ring, and then you look at what Gotham Knights can, and you're like, okay, but are they worth the same price? That's debatable. But at the same time, it's like, you don't have to buy every game. If games are still getting a little expensive for you, you skip some games and you buy ones that you really care for. But at the same time, it's like, is that price worth it if you're having a good time? Even if it's not life-changing, if it's not like genre defining.
And everyone's gonna have different things that they enjoy, right? Like, for example, Lethal might like Gotham Knights a ton, and I might look at it and be like, it's okay, you know, it's not a bad game, but it's not my favorite game or anything. You know, then Chin here eating his chicken wings is gonna be like, this was amazing, I totally played it, even though he's not gonna touch for like 2 more years. And then Bobby is gonna be like, man, this could be complete trash or something like that, you know, just as an example. Not singling you out, Bobby, by the way, just
no, it's so. I probably would be the one who's like, it's trash. I actually thought it looked pretty fun. Does it look like it's going to be a masterpiece? No, but does it look like
Avengers vibes?
Yeah, I was going to say it reminds me of Avengers. It's like this brawler with like RPG stuff. The one problem I have is they're like, don't worry, Red Hood's guns aren't lethal. So that's, and I'm like, you're making this man Akimbo wields some pistols, and you're like, don't worry, he's not actually hurting anyone. He's just shooting him in the face of one.
I'm like, and he's doing piercing damage. I was like, my man's just doing piercing damage. Come on.
Yeah, piercing damage with non-lethal bullets.
I think everybody had the same reaction. So I was like, what?
It's like the tank in Batman Arkham, where
yep, I saw that going on.
Like, you're literally at this tank cannon pointing at this little guy on the side of the road. You're like, yeah, sure, no.
Or you're like bursting through the sides of buildings and crushing them with the wheels of your tank. You're like, oh, he'll be out of the hospital in a day or 2. He's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think when it comes to, at least for me personally, when I saw Gotham Knights, I thought it actually looked pretty good. I actually ended up watching it on my friend's 4K TV later on and everything. So it definitely looked a little bit nicer. I think one thing to also notice that 9 times out of 10 people are watching this on a phone on a small screen at 1920 by 1080. So I'm a little hopeful that it does look a little better than it did. I will admit it did look a little aged, but at the same time, we all know YouTube compression and all that stuff. So there is that hope. I will say the gameplay, it feels okay to me. I mean, Arkham it set the bar so high, and again, I get it, it's not meant to be just an action brawler type thing. You know, they're heavily leaning into the RPG things, which, hate it or love it, a lot of games do that these days, so they're gonna lean into that and everything. But when Arkham has set the bar so high for standards, and then I don't know, like when I saw the Batgirl gameplay originally, which was what, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was like 18 months ago at least.
Right.
Yeah.
That actually looked fine to me. Because I went back and watched it again, and I'm like, this looks fine. It looks what I expect from a quote unquote Arkham game or something made by that same type of developer and everything. Nightwing for some reason felt really floaty, or I shouldn't say felt, it looked really floaty. And again, I know acrobatic, I mean, dude was literally in the circus and everything, his whole backstory and all that stuff, but it just felt a little off in my personal opinion. And then you throw on the whole Fortnite glider thing, and I'm just like, what is going on here? What are they showing me right now?
No.
So
it was that, and then Red Hood had like these, like they called it like mystical soul jumps or mystical jumps.
Like,
using
what
the
is this?
he had the power. I was like, whoa, what's going on? I was like, last I checked, when they bring people back to life, they're not getting powers, at least not all the time. But I don't know.
I mean,
they were doing some funny stuff.
But sure, I mean, damn.
Red Hood moonlights as Doctor Strange. That's why. So
yeah,
you know, he's
something like that. Yeah.
So again, I'm not saying it's gonna be a
character.
bad game or anything. You know, I think it'll probably do very fine. But they kind of had to realize that people are probably going to compare it to the Arkham games. And when you've had those, you know, 3 was a little in some places, but overall masterpieces that are Batman games,
yeah,
they're going to be compared. They're going to be compared. So, you know, the hope is that the Court of Owls story, which I'm personally interested in myself.
Yeah.
If that story can carry it full way, and maybe the gameplay's not the best, but you know, it still does well, and the RPG system's not thrown down your throat, you know, for the entire game. Hey, I'm all for it. I really am. So we'll have to wait and see though.
Yeah, for me, it's a wait
Agreed.
and see. Like, I'm gonna look for reviews unless Rocksteady wants to hook us up with a review code.
Rock City.
WB Games Montreal.
I mean,
sorry.
WB
WB
Different
Games
studio.
Montreal.
WB Games
I mean,
Montreal.
Talon will edit that so I don't look like a jacket.
Yeah. But at the same time, if Rocksteady does want to hook us up with the Suicide Squad review code, by all means, we'll take that. I am super hyped for that game. I don't know,
play it for the
haven't even seen any
PS5, of
gameplay
course,
for
please.
it. Yeah, but still.
Yeah, that one looks really good though. But
Yeah.
different studio. But
Different
we'll give them
studios,
a shot.
obviously.
We'll give these
Yeah.
guys.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think
We'll give them a shot.
I think it's just gonna be one of those things that, you know, we're probably gonna see a little bit more gameplay as, you know, because it releases in October, right?
Yeah, it's in October. Yep.
Right. So I
It's pushed
expect to
back,
probably
right?
see some gameplay at, you know, maybe the Xbox showcase. I expect we'll probably see something if Sony does their equivalent.
Maybe PlayStation.
Maybe, yeah, exactly. Gamescom will probably have something, would be my guess. I don't expect Tokyo Game
we
Show
could, yeah.
too.
Oh, what's the big thing this summer?
Summer Game Fest. We have Summer
Summer
Game
Game
Fest
Fest.
coming
Game
up.
Fest, yeah, we got that going on. So there's some chances for them to push the
I think
positives
we
back
will.
in their favor. So, you know, we'll have to wait and see.
I want to go to Summer
Facts.
Games Fest.
Come out to Tokyo.
Go
I
to
wanna go
IMAX
anytime,
theater.
guys. Come on.
Shout out
Come
to
on
Jeff Keighley
yeah.
doing the IMAX thing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is that useful for us though? You know what I mean? Like, don't we got to be around to make videos
I mean,
and stuff?
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
already
so,
going, so I requested off
honestly,
Talon. This
good,
is
you're,
right here, right now.
You're going
Good. You're gonna get
to the
some-
IMAX or
Yeah.
to the actual event?
No, I wish there was an event. If there was an event, we're all going. That's in California,
Oh,
but no, if they did an event like that, but they're doing like mini kind of things right at the IMAX theaters. But I'm gonna go to an
Okay.
IMAX theater. Yeah,
Live vlog it then. You know.
I got you
Get a
guys.
couple
Yeah,
shorts
I'll
in
show
there for
you.
you. So there you go.
I got you
I
guys.
just came
I'll
out
get you
from
some good
watching
footage.
Summer Game Fest in the theater. You got your phone, you know, like
I know. I'm
Oh,
expecting
God.
something cool,
your
man.
your popcorn's in your left arm. You're just like, yeah, man, come in.
Dude, I want to get like badges and stuff. I'm excited. I hope they do something big for it, man. That'd be pretty cool.
There you go.
I don't know
All
if
right,
I
moving
have
on
an
to our
IMAX
next
around
topic.
here.
We've got the official trailer for Zenless Zone Zero. I don't really know much about this at all. So
I'm not gonna even pretend like I
This
know
is
what
straight
that
up in here because of me. I
Okay,
just
yes.
wanted to
Lethal,
say
take it
this
away. It's all
next
you, buddy.
MiHoYo game looks amazing, and all I wanted to say is that it looks so good. I want to play it. It looked like it's a mix of Jet Set Radio, maybe a little bit of some Devil May Cry in there. I don't know. There's so many things in it that I'm like, dude, this looks fire. And so I snuck that in there just so we can say that, like, yo, we you know, just putting it out there, MiHoYo. I don't know if
see
we
you.
are in
Lethal sees
contacts,
you, at
but
least.
you know,
Lethal
this
sees you.
is
Lethal
something.
sees
It's coming out for, I think, PC and mobile, I think, at launch or something like that. But I'm excited. That game just looks cool, and I
is it
just
gonna
wanted
be
to
a
acknowledge
gacha?
it.
Like
Probably.
Genshin is? Yeah. Because they make
Probably,
gachas,
yeah.
right? MiHoYo.
Oh, you know what? I
Yeah.
saw their
I'm out.
their tweet today. I saw their tweet today. I liked it because I wanted to sign up for their taste beta.
And I did too, buddy. Yeah, I was right in there.
Fine.
I was in the middle of working
you guys
out, and I was
can
like,
play it all you want. I'm just gonna stay here and not even touch a gacha with a 10-foot pole. So
You're not a fan of addicting gambling practices?
But dude, it looks so cool, man.
no, after 6 years of doing it myself, no to the thanks. No way. Hell
he
no.
says that, but he plays Destiny, which is literally that without a fee.
You dropping money?
There's a huge difference between a gacha game and playing something like Destiny. There's a huge difference. No, because I don't spend a single dime.
Fair enough.
Unless it's a yearly expansion. That's all. An
Hey,
expansion
I'm with you there, Talon.
Yeah.
You know me.
Fair enough.
I know.
fair
Like, I
enough.
love Destiny.
I know.
Because I can spend
$100
$100.
a gambling slot machine every 2 weeks when said character comes out. So no, I'm done with that crap.
Listen, Talon, it's the future. It's the future. Everybody's getting into mobile now. It's everything's happening, man. It's like live service is taking
Just
control.
make it a single paid point and just buy the game and then get to play it.
Come on, guys. Where's
Fair.
the NFT gacha game? That's what we
No.
need.
That's
what the world
That's
does.
taking it too
Monkey
far.
that up.
No, we're not doing that. We're not even covering that.
You know
Just
who's
kidding.
going
I
to
know.
be the first on it? Ubisoft.
Oh god.
I think everybody's at this
All by
point.
Square Enix.
Oh, Square Enix?
Sure,
yeah,
Square is.
Enix.
Yeah, I was gonna say sure, only Square is. So everybody's
Failing
getting on
at
it.
it hardcore.
PlayStation just had a thing today. I think about it. I was like, oh, I don't want
so
to
they
talk
are
about
going to
this.
buy
I don't
Square
wanna-
Enix, aren't they?
Okay, Square Enix, listen
I
to
don't
me.
know. I mean, it could happen.
Japanese company
if they're-
buys another
if they're-
Japanese company, so
If they're
Yeah.
pushing, and if PlayStation's willing to push NFTs at the same time as Square Enix selling all their like Western IPs to push NFTs, makes
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that was the rumor, though. Like, lots of big figureheads had said that. Like, the rumor that they heard was Sony was acquiring Square Enix. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, we're showcases coming up. That could be the perfect time for a nice little, like, a little announcement, little toss in, right? Some Final Fantasy 16, and then bam, right there, Square Enix. That's how you do it. You end the showcase with FF16 being like, yo, it's dropping November 2022, November 11, 2022, the day of Starfield. Oh, speaking of which, Talon, you might as well just take us into it, buddy.
oh boy, okay, let's enter the inferno, folks. All right, we're going in. If you guys haven't
Might
heard
as
or you've
well.
been living under a rock, basically, two things coming up. A, we got the Xbox Showcase, which has been announced for a little bit of time, but here's the big one. Starfield was officially delayed, and everyone is just flocking to the internet right now. Xbox dead, Xbox no games 2022, the whole nine yards, just going off. And wow, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I kind of saw it. I was just like, dude, they haven't shown anything. They either have a masterpiece ready for Xbox Game Show, or they have to delay it. There's no other way to look at it. I've got a lot of thoughts, but I want you guys to talk first. So one of you guys junking for it or whatever, you go.
If I don't say something,
Okay, go.
I'm never going to get after Bobby.
Okay,
I
Chin.
know, I can see him. I see his face.
And just add in Redfall. Redfall also got delayed, which was the other big game. So sorry, let's just clarify that. That is the other big game. It was two, not just one. But go ahead, Chin. Before Bobby goes off. Before Bobby goes off, Chin, just go ahead.
Yes, and the thing is, I have a feeling I know what Bobby's going to say, and almost all of it I'm going to agree with. But devil's advocate here, it doesn't bother me that much. One, because I don't really play Xbox games unless they come to PC, and two, it's because I really love Bethesda and I'm excited for the game. So I'm like, okay, hopefully delaying it means that it won't be any buggier than, say, like Skyrim on release. And if that's the case, I'll be pretty happy.
I think that
I mean, delaying is always a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think we need to make that point very, very clear, right? Regardless of any positives or negatives, fanboys, non-fanboys, the whole nine yards, delaying a game is always a good thing. It gives them more time in the oven. It gives it more time to get polished, add stuff, fix stuff, tweak everything. That is always a good thing. That being said, are we ready for... Chin wants to say one more thing here before Bobby gets to go
I was
off.
going to say, no. Pretty much that. It's like, this doesn't look bad on Bethesda.
Right, no, it doesn't look bad on Bethesda. No, in fact, it probably looks very good, actually. All right, Bobby, we've let you off the leash. Go for it, man.
Go for it, Bobo.
Okay, hold on just a second.
Oh.
Oh no!
What did I say? Like, what did I say on the last podcast? I said Xbox has terrible management issues. The studios that they buy, they're not reining them in. They're just acquiring more studios and not putting the time in to cultivate the talent that's there. They're acquiring problematic studios like Activision and Blizzard, which is causing more issues because they're having to deal with that and all that PR lawsuit insanity instead of taking the time to manage the studios they already have that are supposed to be coming out with products that are now delaying the products to next year. And now they're not going to have any first party big titles for the entire year of 2022. And that to me is the worst sign I have ever seen for any game publisher ever. They go, we're going this entire calendar year without any main flagship titles.
Yep.
Because we couldn't get our shit together.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do want to say real quick, because I know Bobby is doing his thing, but I want everyone who's watching this to hope that you know that Bobby's not saying that, you know, oh, they need to rein them in, they need to do all this crunch and everything. That's not
No.
Right. We all know here, we're all, you know, we all sympathize, you know, with most jobs and everything like that. That's, you know, things like crunch, you know, timetables, schedules, all that stuff, it can be hectic. It can be absolutely crazy. So we're not saying that Microsoft needs to go in and do that. We are not saying that. But
no,
Microsoft, and this is not the first time they've done this. They've done it with Halo. They did it with what's the pirate game that came out a few years ago?
Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves,
Yeah.
right? They've done. It's where they don't try to keep to some type of schedule. We know things change, marketing, the whole, all that stuff. We get that, pandemic, the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
But Microsoft, especially, ever since I believe it was 2013, I want to say, maybe even before that, this has been shown, and I'll even put the video in the description so you guys can check it out, or I'll pin it as a comment for the channel. This is a video I found for a guy who goes into the history of all this stuff, and it just shows that they are very bad at managing all of this stuff. I mean, especially like with Halo, right? Halo was what, a 6-year game or something like that, right? Great if you look at it, but then you have all the extra rumors and little side things where people have made reports on this, that supposedly the first like 3 years of that 6-year development was trying to make Halo some kind of like hero shooter or something like that. And it's like, what? Why wasn't Microsoft stepping in and being like, guys, what are you doing? We asked you to make Halo, not a hero shooter. Like, what's going on here, right?
And that's like part of the problem, right? For sure. It is like the giving the studios so much like freedom. Whereas, you know, maybe like there's studios like Double Fine that did Psychonauts. I love Psychonauts, and I thought Psychonauts 2 was amazing. So like Double Fine, I could see them being like, hey, you guys do your thing because you guys do great work. But you know, maybe there's no way they came in and they had to have at some point checked in on that development of Halo, saw maybe, you know, the hero shooter stuff and was like, oh, you know, like that shouldn't have happened at that point. Like there should have been way more going into that, especially Halo. Just, you know, throwing my 2 cents out there, but especially Halo, right? Of anything. That was the one that needed to be the one, right? We all said that when Halo Infinite was coming out, it needed to be the one. So for that to happen, it's just like, ugh, go ahead.
Right, and it could have easily been like, you know, it's maybe part of it wasn't, maybe all of it wasn't on Microsoft, and part of it was also due to whoever the highest position for 343 was, right? Was the head of 343 being like, all right, guys, 3 years here, you know, hero shooter, let's try and make this work in a Halo universe or something like that. And then Microsoft came in and was like, okay, we give you guys way too much freedom, and this happened, and now we got to really rein it in or something like that. We know, who knows? So it could be both those sides, but it just, again, it goes back to the management. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if now with the Activision, you know, buyout that they now have, I don't know, Blizzard, for example, right? Let's just say, I'm just gonna take Blizzard as an example, and they say, all right, Blizzard, make a game or something like that, and the same thing happens 3 years down the road. You know, some management, because of how they handle everything, some management at Blizzard's like, let's do this, and it looks like, what the heck is this type of thing? And then we have another Halo example or another Sea of Thieves example, right? So yeah, it's very head scratching, to say the least. And I know Bobby's just like,
go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead. You can go ahead.
No, you guys are right. Like, this boils down to the same thing that happened with Anthem, right? Where it's just like Talon said, there was like, devs are working, they're there.
Yeah.
Management has
this
no
is not
clear
on the devs.
idea.
This is not on the devs at all. This is all on management, regardless of how high or anything.
And I absolutely agree. Like, we do not wish for crunch. Crunch sucks. I worked for EA. We had crunch. Even in my department, that was like the testing for like endgame. Like, these games are coming out in 8 weeks. We got to make sure the last of everything is working on these final builds, right? That's what I did. right? We still had crunch and it sucked. Like it sucked. And I don't wish that on people. Like it's part of the work environment. Like it's expected almost, you know, kind of like when you're working on a movie.
Yeah.
Like if you're working on a movie, you can work like 14, 16 hours a day easy, right? If you're like one of the lighting people or whatever. Same thing happens in games. And no, I don't want people to have to deal with that because that's not fair. Like let people have lives. They're trying to make entertainment, sure, but like let them have lives. Let them work from home. But when those people are there and working and the management's just like, we'll try something. We'll try this. We'll try that. Yeah. Right?
There's no direction. There's no direction. There's no one there to be like, okay, guys, look, I need team A to be doing this. I need team B to be doing this. Team C to be doing this. And in, I don't know, 2 months or something like that, right? I need you to be at this spot, like, or whatever, or however long you're given, right? And again, not saying that they need, you know, no crunch, you know, keep away from the crunch life and everything like that. Unfortunately, it's the way it is right now, which is, as you've seen over the last year or so, people trying to get away from that. But regardless, there's no direction, right? I mean, if you look at something like, I know someone's going to come into the comments and be like, well, actually this happened, but I don't know, look at Insomniac with the Spider-Man game or something like that, or you know, God of War. And I know I'm probably sounding like a Sony fanboy here now or something like that, but that was a good show of where Sony let them do what they wanted to do because they trusted the teams, but the teams had leadership and good management, and at least there's no damning story to come out that I know of. Look at how well those games did. Just look at how well those games did. Right? The teams knew what they wanted to do.
Look at Nintendo, dude. They just took Xenoblade 3 and brought that down like 3 months. Like that is the last thing you expect to ever hear, where everybody else is like struggling to meet these deadlines and expectations. Whereas Nintendo's like, just pull down Xenoblade 3, give it to them 3 months earlier. You know, we got Pokemon, like, and that's the other part of it too. That's go ahead, Bobby.
I was gonna say, if you're a Nintendo player right now, be thankful.
Because like, you're a Nintendo player.
You're eating this summer. Like you're
feasting on hot wings and French fries right now. That is what you're enjoying.
That's you.
So like, but yeah, like it's like it's like you guys said. Excuse me. With all of this stuff, and I'm glad you brought up God of War, Talon, because Cory Barlog was the creative director, right?
Right.
And I watched a documentary on that, the making of that game, and you could see that he had a very clear idea, and then he met with his sub teams, right? His sub teams of people who were doing like gameplay, right, and weapon design and stuff like that. He met with all of them, and they were like, hey, we have these ideas. And he was like, okay, let's take this, and this, and we're going to use these, right? And that's how, you know, the teams and leadership need to function together. And you can clearly see that a lot of that is missing with a lot of studios right now, but namely with a lot of these Microsoft-owned studios right now. It's like they're buying these studios because they're like, well, they're not doing great, but then they're not doing anything to make them great. And that's what sucks, because after everything, right? What's his name? Phil Spencer, right? He needs to be the one who's like, hey, do I have the right people to make this? Not just the devs. Not the devs, because he doesn't need to worry about that. He needs to worry about finding the people who are creative directors,
heads, directors,
department heads,
heads of insert job here, essentially.
And to be fair, we only spoke about what Halo and what Starfield right now, but like we've seen these problems happening, like we said, with other studios too. Like look at the Initiative, right? What happened to Perfect Dark? You lost half of the Initiative. That was supposed to be this. You had some of the best developers from God of War, from like everywhere. Like you had some of the best people coming together, and look how that fell apart. You lost half that team. Had to get Crystal Dynamics to come in to help it, and now I think at this point it's just become a Crystal Dynamics project at this point. Like I don't even know what happened, and that's example what, number 4 or 3. I got you example number 5. What happened with Rare? What happened with Everwild? There was a game that was showing off that I know I scratched my head when I saw that, and I was like, what the hell is this? And then a little bit after that, they're rebooting the project. You know, they're taking it from scratch and they're putting it to a different direction now, and now the game's not coming out for another like 3 more years, and it's like, what is going on? Like, and these are some of the best studios, like Rare, Banjo-Kazooie. Like, what? Like, these are. I mean, not to saying it's the same developer still there, but it's just you look at it and you're like, damn, like that doesn't sound like the Rare, like, you know, I remember too much of growing up with and everything. I don't know. It's just, it sucks to see stuff like that happen, but it's kind of, I think it goes back to that point of like, what's going on? I mean, can you, if you want to blame the studio, that's one thing, but guess what? At the end of the day, they're underneath Microsoft, right? They're underneath Xbox banner. So you got to go back to the top and say, what the hell are you guys doing? Not, you know, figuring out what's going on with all this stuff. Like, why are we greenlighting things and then scratching it 3 years later? Because at that point, you're wasting money, resources. Like, there's so many things that could have been different for each of these different, you know, projects and everything. And you know, this is just like part A of this whole issue. But go ahead. I think, Bobby, you're gonna say something.
I was gonna say, one of the main problems I wonder about too is that Microsoft has had this policy for a long time where like they work on contracts, right? It's like 6 months.
That was the other big thing.
The contract developers, right?
Yeah. So if you're working that, and then who knows if they're still working that? I don't know personally, but if they are, and then like you have to question, are they making all the studios that they own do that now? Because it is cheaper.
Yeah.
And so maybe they're trying to save money that way. That would explain why there's all these delays, why all these projects are taking forever, why things are getting rebooted, because you got people coming in after 6 months who have no idea what's going on with anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like changes have to be made, and that's really where Nintendo and Sony both, like, they both know what they've got going on, right? They go, we are trusting these people, we are paying the talent to stay here because we know they can create great stuff. We're gonna
isn't
make sure
Nintendo in the West getting flamed recently for some worker stuff? I thought I saw some kind of story.
I have no idea. It may be.
Were they?
It went yeah, I thought, I could have sworn I'll try and find the article here in a second as you keep talking. But I would definitely say, at least I know in Japan here, they keep the same talent in here. You know, they don't use as many contractors, at least to my knowledge. And because think about it, right? If you have, let's say 10 developers come in on a contract, right? And they work for 12 months, let's just say a year, right? Then they leave, and then you bring in another 10. Those 10 have no idea what was done that year before. And so they have to spend at least probably a month or two trying to figure out exactly what was made. And then they're trying to either put stuff on top of that, change things here. And all of a sudden you see this really messy code, because then by the time they finally get their stuff in, they're gone. And the next team comes in. It's like, why? Why is this, you know? And
then the other thing too is that not only do you not have people working on the same thing, but there's new people. Not that they have to come in and like figure out, okay, what's there and what's not, but they have to try and understand the logic, right?
Right.
Because like the management clearly is not the ones conveying the logic of what's going on. Maybe team leaders are, but like those creative directors and those higher up like project managers and stuff, they're not conveying well enough like what's going on. And so we get these messy, sloppy games that come out. I mean, last I saw, what was it, Redfall, right? That's the other thing that got delayed. It looked like a PlayStation 2 game, like, and I was like, okay. And obviously I saw it on Twitter, so part of that could have been Twitter compression, but like I'm pretty accustomed to Twitter compression.
Yeah, I think
you know what I mean?
We've all seen videos on Twitter. Again, we know they're compressed. Did some good looking videos on Twitter though, from games. Yeah. It's not that hard to.
But these look like when I worked for EA and we were still making PS2 games. Like, that's what it looked like. Those kind of character
real quickly on the Nintendo
like,
stuff. It turned so it's been hitting the news for about a week now. It's about Nintendo contractors complaining about the company unfairly exploiting temporary workers, is what in the West for Nintendo is what has been hitting the news for the last week. So
not cool, Nintendo of America.
Yeah, not cool.
Not cool.
Yep.
Watch your ass.
Yep. So but again, regardless though, right? If you had to like rank them, which I know might sound bad to say, I guess, but Microsoft is definitely at the top, right? In terms of this poor management and whatever the heck is going on between the very, very top, the top of each, you know, development studio. Yeah. And I mean, how long has Starfield been in development now?
5 years?
I think it's like 7 years. Was it more? Is it 5?
Is it 5, 7? Okay,
I know it's
regardless though,
5,
right?
That's what
they have Elder Scrolls 6 under development too at the same time.
And that's been in development.
Yeah. That's like got to be like planning stages. Like they're like probably just like,
it's probably
I don't know. They can't be too far in.
But it was years ago that they showed that little Elder Scrolls 6
Yeah.
Was that before the buyout though? Was that before the buyout?
Yeah,
It was
Or
well
long
before that. It was years ago.
long-
It was
yeah, it was like two and a half years.
It was. I wouldn't be.
It was before the new consoles came
surprised.
out.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's definitely on like a back burner somewhere to try and finish this out and everything. But again, you know, it's great when developers have a lot of time, like we have said over and over again. It's great when they have the proper amount of time to actually work on a game. But then when you start to delve into the actual things, right? It may say, oh yeah, Starfield 7 years of development, but then if the same thing that's been happening to Halo and all these other games and everything like that, it's like actually it was more like only 2 years, because the first 4 years was all this, you know, temporary contract work and everything like that, or they're trying to do this and then they cut all of that and went 180 this way. That just shows the problem, right? I mean, we've even seen it again outside of Microsoft. Happened with Battlefield, happened with all these other games that are happening. It's just like,
And the thing is, like, even go ahead.
Oh,
No, go ahead, Jen.
well, so honestly, like the biggest thing out of all this to me is like like Bobby said at the beginning, it's a whole year without first party, you know, releases for your console. And that also means without first party releases for your biggest service, that your biggest draw for people to purchase is first party service, like or first party games. Like what does Game Pass offer if not day one exclusives, right? Like,
that's a selling point, right?
It's a huge thing. Like say things with like Netflix right now, right? Like, yeah, it's great that I can go on Netflix and watch like Seinfeld or Community. And like, you know, I love those shows and I can watch old shows, but like, what is Netflix doing to offer me new things that make it worthwhile to pay $19.99 a month? Like, because I can go watch Community anywhere. Like I can go pirate it like really easily. Like, you know what I mean? Like
if you want
a lot of the games
Dude, I look at like Disney Plus.
Xbox, well, a lot of games that Xbox offers on Game Pass, like those older games, most likely you can get them on sale for like $5-10, you know? And like, yeah, you have a whole catalog of games, but realistically, someone who's playing games is going to usually stick to a genre they know and probably like 1 or 2 games that they really like playing. Yeah. So if you're not offering those huge incentives, like your service, you know, kind of looks like crap. It gets boring after a while. People are going to get bored.
Right. And one thing I find particularly interesting, again, not, I know some of us are going to come off sound like fanboys and everything, but you know how when PlayStation announced their rework of PlayStation Plus, so Essential, you know, Next Step, and then Premium or whatever it is, right? And everyone, the big headline you always saw was Sony doesn't do first party day one games, right? You saw that across the internet on YouTube, the whole 9 yards, right?
Yep.
Starting to look like Xbox a little bit right now, aren't you? I mean,
like, yeah, they the same thing.
Now again, I do know that Game Pass obviously has, you know, like one thing that a lot of people also flagged it for was obviously that PlayStation, you know, all PlayStation 3 games unfortunately are streamable because PS3 was a pain and a half to develop for.
Sure.
And obviously people are still waiting to see for PlayStation 2, PS1, and PSP games which are downloadable, which are on the cloud and everything, which I get. So that obviously has its own problems and everything. But again, now that you're starting to compare, at least in 2022, Xbox Game Pass / Xbox Live or whatever to PlayStation Plus, not looking like this anymore. It's starting to look like this, to be perfectly honest.
At least for this year. For this year. Let's be real. Let's on the other side of the spectrum here.
Right.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because let's be real. 2023, if anything, Xbox should be popping off. I'm talking Xbox should start by 2023, I think, or 2024. We should be seeing them pop off with a lot of games. I think
we should. But
absolutely,
one thing to also keep in mind, I'm not denying that 2023 looks like a hell of a year for it. But didn't we all say the same thing in 2021, saying 2022 is going to be popping off?
Yeah.
Right?
And everyone was like, Xbox is going to destroy Sony next year. And it's like,
so it just goes to show you that 2023 is going to come up, and yeah, Starfield should release, right? And maybe it's delayed until the winter again for whatever reason. But if
I think it's
Xbox
spring right now, but yeah, I won't be surprised.
I don't want to say under control, but just get management under control, I should say.
Yeah.
For these.
Well, and here's another thing
studios.
they're gonna have to compete with now, though. Is like, now that they've pushed it, this like pushes it into territory of other really hype games. You know what else got delayed? Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild got delayed at that, and they're going to be competing with that. They're going to be competing with Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And they're also going to be competing with, competing in a hopeful sense that PS5s are probably going to be more available. So when people are picking, what do I want? Maybe a new Switch comes out and I'm going to get that in Breath of the Wild. Or, PS5s are readily available. I'm going to get that in Spider-Man 2 versus an Xbox and what's Starfield, with a lot of worry behind it. Now, I think
that saves them. I think that saves them a little bit by having it on Game Pass, right? Sometimes I think that they're lucky they have that, because if that was just a standard like release game and everything, that's when it does get scary. But they're lucky to be doing the Game Pass thing, because I do think that it lets them kind of get away a little bit with some things. But it's still it still looks bad.
Well, one crazy thing to me. I was going to say one crazy thing to me is when you think about the timeline. They said early 2023 for these games, right?
And they said the first half of 2023, I thought. Whatever it is.
Oh, okay. So first half. So let's assume go to they can release it up to June, right? Maybe they'll do that. The highest, yeah, with Starfield, they might do that because summer tends to be kind of like a valley, and it's kind of like Elden Ring, where Elden Ring was the big thing that came out, and not much that was going to compete with that has come out since even, right? Yep. But if they go to, let's say, April, May, or June, we're going to be approaching by that June period, 30 months with 2 games from their
first
big
party.
Heavy hitter first party stuff.
And I think Bethesda has a lot to prove after the flop that was Fallout 64. Now, I know anyone who still plays the game, and including our own very
76.
Alec here at 5'9", after
not 64, keep it 64
years or something like that.
Fallout 64.
Most people are saying it's actually in a good spot right now, but Fallout, did I say 64 by accident, by the way?
You did, yeah.
You don't.
Okay. Fallout 76,
it's okay.
regardless.
It's the same thing, Fallout 64.
It is the same thing, right? It
just
is.
imagine
it's the same
walking
thing.
around.
I mean,
it's fine,
not only 76, but I'm going to be honest, as much as I loved it, Fallout 4 was also a rocky hit game for them. Like that game came out and it was very divided between people who loved it and people who were like, this is not a good Fallout game.
And
so they've got...
God. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, they've got 2 kind of semi-misses. 76 was a big miss. Fallout 4's
And if I see
debatable.
And if I see any comments about, well, it's just what we expect that from our games, right? They're buggy at the start. We know they're gonna pick it up and bring it back. I have heard the same excuse from Battlefield players. I love Battlefield. I was there for the entire road that was 4. People touted it as one of the best Battlefield games to this day. It had a crappy launch. Battlefield is in the same thing where they launch it and it's full of bugs and all this stuff, broken features, you name it. Now look where they are with 2042. They are down to under 1,000 players on Steam. They have lost most of the community faith. And guess what? Bethesda can get there too. It can. It can happen to anybody.
What's even worse with Bethesda is not only are they buggy, the problem with Fallout 4 and 76 was just content too.
Yeah.
Like, not only was it buggy, but it, like, for core fans, Fallout 4 actually had a lot of content, but for core fans, they really changed up things that people felt were critical to the Fallout experience. And then 76 just like flopped it on its head. It was lackluster. There was no NPCs. I don't know how they thought that was a good idea. Where they're like, yeah, you are the NPC and you're also the player and it's all community. And you're like, no one talks to each other. No one goes in the game chat anymore.
That has me even thinking too, like
360.
Yeah, I was gonna say with Starfield 2, I remember even a thing came out, was it like just like a month ago, that they were like, I think it was Jason Schreier or somebody, that guy, like, I think heard from some of the development team, I think that was a part of Starfield, that was like, we're having to like cut out content. And then I remember being like, ooh, you're cutting out content to make a deadline. That didn't sound good. But people are like, oh, like, that's normal, right? And it is pretty normal for the most part, right? To cut content to make it in time. But like,
huge game, yeah.
Right. And so, but it does make me think, like, damn, like, Bethesda games were always going to have bugs, kind of, right? And so, like, it just makes me think that, like, if it's having that, I'm trying to figure out what the issue could be for another delay. Like if you cut content and there was already the bugs, like I wonder, is it that bad? Like did it have that times like 1,000? Like I just have so many questions on it. But then again, I know they're big games, right? We know they're these huge RPGs, but that's just crazy. I mean, what's even weird too is like they were just hyping up the game. Like they were doing the developer diary things. Like I saw the Todd Howard sitting down. They had one with like music going. I was like, bro, you were really hyping us up. Even myself, I'm excited for it. But of course, now even I'm upset by it. Yeah, and I was like, you were really hyping it up to be like, okay, it's definitely dropping because you have all the marketing going out there and doing its job. And now it's like, wait, you pushed it back. And then even the message that they dropped, right? They straight up on a Thursday morning at 9 a.m. dropped a little fat message that was like, yo, sorry, we need more time, you guys are amazing. And I'm like, you can't just do that, bro. Like everybody, not even just the hardcore Xbox fans, but Bethesda fans, right? The people who are just buying Game Pass literally just for this game this is what they were looking forward to. And it's like, damn, like you dropped that right before your showcase event. What are you doing? Like to me, there's even moves from like marketing side. I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? Why would you not drop something depressing like this after the showcase event? Because I imagine this showcase event has like a 30-minute thing on Starfield. If it doesn't, I quit, bro. I'll never buy another. No, I'm kidding. Right now, but could you imagine if they don't show Starfield here? I'll be like, bro, how bad? That would be nuts. That would just be nuts.
If they don't show Starfield, you know immediately that it is going to be the next Cyberpunk. It's going to come out.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it will be, but that's just... Yeah, no, because even Cyberpunk with delays, look at that, dude.
Yeah, like,
it's fun now.
You can't have a game, even if it does come out next year. If it comes out with like in 1 year from now, at this point they've been talking up all this big talk about Starfield, and all the Bethesda fans and all the Xbox fans have just been like, Starfield's the game that's gonna be it, man. It's gonna be it. And I go, we haven't seen anything.
That was it.
We haven't seen anything.
Dude, I've seen so many people argue that, oh, that's okay when like it's like most developers, and some people do that, right? Some studios do that where they won't show you nothing until a couple months from release. But I saw a lot of people arguing that standpoint, and I was like, in my mind, like, dude, in 2022, do you really want to do that? Yeah. Like, I feel like you'd wanna get the feedback of your audience, because at the end of the day, it's the people that are gonna sign up for Game Pass for this. I mean, you can go for sales, but I imagine it's more for people from Game Pass and whatnot. But like, there's no way in today's market, in today's just the way things work in gaming, that you wait a couple months to just show that. Like, you should show it off sooner, especially because they put a release date last year. My dudes, it was the last June, a year ago, where they were like 11/11/22. Like, that showed me and a bunch of people that like, you guys are on your shit. You guys know what's going down because you guys have a date ahead of time. And that's the other problem, is putting dates and not following up with the expectations. And it's like, oh man, it's just so annoying.
And it goes to show again from the management side of things, right? Because you literally just talked about how the marketing team was doing all this stuff to hype it up and everything, and then whether it's the head of the whole development team or the manager or whatever position, right, tweeted out the little Bethesda tweet and everything. Communication, there's no communication between those, and the Xbox on top, there's no communication between there, and it's just it's all over the place. It's all over the place.
You could tell it's all over the place, or they do have communication and they just don't care.
Yeah,
and they're thinking, nope, sucks to suck for your team. Just get it done.
It's either careless, like not careless. It's either just not giving a damn about the consumer, or complete incompetence and
I mean, there's always the argument that they don't care about the consumer, right? Mostly it's caring. I mean, at least the big wigs, right? They care about their stock,
right. All that stuff, but that's not Phil Spencer. That's the quote unquote not Phil Spencer. He cares about us. But I mean, I don't know. It doesn't look good.
No.
To play devil's advocate, though, you know what barely just released its trailer a couple months before release? Thor: Love and Thunder, so sometimes people can wait until like last minute, for like big media hits.
It just doesn't seem like you'd want to do that, in my opinion. But there's people who are like, no, like that's fine. Most people do that, and that's fair. But I just think, I don't know. It doesn't like when a delay happens. Then I'm just like, well, I mean, it kind of I wouldn't be surprised by it, because even I honestly thought it was gonna make this time, especially when you saw the first half of this year, Xbox had nothing, and so like they were banking this end of the year to be where they have their first party lineup, you know, to come out, and not just Starfield, but the other game. But I keep forgetting it, Redfall.
I mean,
no, I think you have a point. Like, you don't want to be left in the dark. Like let's look at two games that one is questionable and two already got its delay. Like Breath of the Wild, we didn't have a lot on it, but at least we got to see like one cinematic trailer, which included some gameplay to it. And then same with God of War, which I kind of have a feeling is going to get delayed, and then everyone's going to be like, well, Sony didn't have much either, but at least they had, you know, Horizon this year. They had something.
You know what's nice though? You know what's nice though, real quick, is that, like, I think we mentioned it. If not, I'll mention it back up again. Is that with God of War Ragnarok, that is the big thing right now. That is like, oh man, like, well, because right now PlayStation got a fat gap open at the end of the year to take that shit and just run with it. Like, they have a nice big open spot. Don't get me wrong, Nintendo's Nintendo. They got their thing going regardless. But, you know, PlayStation, right? It's like PlayStation has like this big one right here, and it's like, I know they're trying hard to meet that deadline. But the point I wanted to make too is, like, they just had, I think it was like a week or two ago, where they had Cory Barlog come out with a Sony Santa Monica tweet. Did you guys see that video where he was like, you know, they basically put out a video where he was like, you know, we're trying to make this deadline. We know how excited you guys are for it. We're working our butts off, you know, to hopefully, you know, make it in time and everything. We're not ready to show it to you just yet and stuff like that. But, like, the thing is, it's nice to see something like that rather than just get a fat message that's like, hey, we're delaying the game, blah blah blah. And it's like, damn, like, again, just goes back to just how Microsoft is deciding to handle these things, where it's like, well, like, Nintendo, if I saw something like how Cory Barlog did that and then it happened, I wouldn't be as upset for like Starfield or something like that happening, because then it's like, oh, okay, still it's bad, but you don't feel like some, like, a lot of Xbox people, they feel like hit by that. At least the hardcore ones, they feel really hit by everything, because they're like, damn, this is how you guys are doing it.
Did it too, right? I mean, they had the developer come on a YouTube video and was like, look, we need some more time to make this game, let it cook in the oven and everything. We're really sorry about this. People were upset, which is fine. You know, it's okay to be upset when something gets delayed. It's normal. Just don't attack people, obviously. But I think because it felt a little bit more personal, right? Like, somebody was there on camera.
That's true. It's
like
great.
Anything with YouTube, podcasts, anything in the right. When you have
why do you think apology videos?
Yeah, when you have someone talking to you and being like, look, you know, we just need a little bit more time on this. People are like, okay, look, I'm a little upset, yeah, but I get it. You know, you're working your butts off and everything. That's awesome. Keep up the good work. We'll wait for the game or whenever it's going to come out, right? Starfield was like, slap Twitter post, done. Right?
Yeah, it was so like corporate, so corporate.
Yeah,
Come on,
it was very.
It's so corporate.
What really doesn't help too is that, like, let's be real, most gamers in the world aren't like us, where we have, you know, a PlayStation and a PC and a Switch and stuff, right? Like, most people, they picked Xbox because, one, that was the one thing that they could get. They chose, they was like, I can get one console.
Everyone gets their
that's
one
what
thing
I'm
that
choosing.
You get usually,
the one thing, and that's and it's a great value for someone who can only choose one thing. I always vouch for Xbox. When people ask me, like, I don't have a console, what should I get? I actually always say Xbox, because I'm like, Game Pass is the best value for gamers who aren't like us and are willing to spend thousands to get every console.
Exactly.
But then it sucks for those gamers where that's their only thing, and all the excitement's ripped out from under them. And it's like, yeah, how long can you play Psychonauts? You know?
Well,
how long can you play Halo Infinite?
There's other games on there too, though, to be fair.
Season 3 of Halo Infinite. Season 3 of Halo Infinite. That is their first party release this year, okay?
That's exciting.
You can play Halo Infinite for 6 months a season. That's how long you can play it.
Yep.
Yeah, and yes, there's a lot of games on there. So, like, there's still so much for people to play, and, like, there's still a lot of value in Game Pass.
But it's not Xbox, right? Those aren't Xbox.
But it's not.
games.
Yes.
It's like, and that's the fair argument of it. I feel like, just to go to your point, because, like, I know there's gonna be a lot of people who are like, so you're saying Game Pass has no value, but it's just like what Chin was saying though, and like, he took it to Netflix. I'll take it to Disney Plus. Like, dude, I have Disney Plus, but I'll be honest, like, I watch some of the other shows here and there, but to be honest, those Marvel drops is what I want, and you only get like 3 of those a year. So, like, I look at Game Pass the same way. Like, to be honest, that's why I'm gonna get it. But not everybody's gonna look at it like that. But I know there's people who are like, oh, so you're devaluing other third-party developers and stuff like that. But it's like, it's true. At the end of the day, a live service, or at least a subscription service, what I should say, something like that, needs to have those bangers, because that is where that's like That's like that's like having the icing, but like the cake part of it. This is a weird position, but like the cake part of it is 100%. It's the important part of it. So like that's the first party games is what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's like at this point, what's the difference between it and PS Now at the same time? You know, like PS Now has a lot of games to play. It does. Like, I know people like undersell it, but it's got a lot of PS4 games and I think one PS5 game. But like, there's some value to it. I pay for it every month. I like playing some of the games, but come on, I don't know, man. It's it's
so question is how do they fix it now? This is my question to you guys. How do they fix it? Because one thought is they have to but I was gonna say, aside from the management aspect of it, like how do they fix it in terms of for the consumer? So
they go to more third-party people. They go to more third-party developers.
I was gonna say they're gonna have to add something to Game Pass to fit that spot. That's a big release. And so in my mind, I was thinking like Gotham Knights. Right? Do they try to secure third-party day-and-date Gotham Knights on Game Pass? Yep. Can they get Hogwarts Legacy? Will Hogwarts Legacy take a check?
No, they won't.
But at the same time, Hogwarts Legacy, I think, is going to sell bajillion dollars anyways because it's Harry Potter.
Well, and aren't they being funded by Sony?
Oh, they might be. I read somebody saying that like WB has like a thing with Sony or something like that, even for Gotham Knights, where like they can't put it on there. But I was like, they can't put Gotham Knights on there or Harry Potter. I'm like, I don't even. Forspoken is PlayStation. If Final Fantasy 16 comes out, that's PlayStation only. Those are exclusives, and that's another thing too, right? I think Sony does a great job. Should God of War Ragnarok get delayed, which is totally fine if it does. We had Horizon Forbidden West at the beginning of this year, right? And anybody who wanted Gran Turismo, but at least they do these things where they make these partnership deals with like Square and are giving us like a what's it called, Final Fantasy 16, right? And Forspoken, some of these third-party exclusives. Where I wonder where does, I don't know, maybe I'm missing it, but like I'm like, where's there some of these for Xbox, or at least I don't see them, or they're just not like, I don't know, maybe they're just not big enough games to warrant something like that. But
this is how they get back Sniper Elite 5, May 26th.
Jesus Christ,
May 26th. All right, that really is a sleeper, baby.
There were some interviews here in Tokyo recently where the developer of Final Fantasy 14, because he's also working on 16 if I remember correctly, or he's like helping with it or something like that. Like supposedly they're really close to finishing Final Fantasy 16. They really are. Like,
I think it'll drop.
I think it'll drop.
I think it's gonna
drop this year. So again, if Sony has to and says, okay, you know what, we got to push God of War back a little bit more, give them some time just to finish up what they need to. Yeah, Final Fantasy 16 right there, which a lot of people are hyped for. Right?
That and Forspoken.
Forspoken
that's
went
pretty
to 2023, didn't it?
Is it?
No. It's October. It's October.
Oh, they push it back to like late, end of year. Okay.
I'll double check.
I mean, it might be weird to drop Forspoken and then Final Fantasy 16 but they could do it.
It's holiday season.
I wouldn't be surprised.
October 11th.
Yeah, it's like people are doing that nowadays. They're doing it.
Quarter 4,
October 11th for Forspoken. If they drop Final Fantasy 16 in November, December, that's a couple months outside. You know.
Yep.
Get that Christmas money, all that stuff. So.
Yep.
Well, Sony's still going to get their check from Call of Duty. You know, they still have contracts with Activision for now. Modern Warfare 2 is probably going to be the biggest. Like, it's going to blow Vanguard out of the water with sales. It's going to be huge. I know people had bad feelings of Vanguard, but people are ready for Modern Warfare 2. Like, they are going to buy that game.
I mean,
even if it sucks.
Unless I was going to say, like, unless it just kind of falls apart. Like,
it easily could. So
I mean, it'll
sell.
Yeah, that's not to say that Call of Duty won't sell, but like we I know we talked about this. I think before the podcast. I don't remember if we talked about on the podcast. Right? Elden Ring has outsold Vanguard. Right?
Yes.
Elden Ring, which is a Souls game. Like, it's like big open world, crazy exploration, all that, but it's a Souls game, and it outsold Vanguard. Because Vanguard and Call of Duty are just not selling like they used to.
Well, I think most people are still playing Activision Warzone, right? I think a lot of people are just like,
it's free. Why would you not?
It's free. Well, it's also like they kind of shot themselves in the foot with that. I feel like they shouldn't have just whatever. I love Warzone though. I think it's amazing. But I love how Activision came out and like blamed Vanguard's poor sales on the setting of the game,
On World
and
War
not the
II.
fact,
I saw that.
not the fact
Did
that
they
the game
really?
was just
Yeah, they
boring
did.
as hell.
I saw that. Yeah.
People love World War II. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Dude, those games are Call of Duty World War II, Call of Duty World at War. Those are some of the best-selling Call of Duties and some of the biggest fan favorites.
Yeah.
Like it's not like people are tired of World War II. People are tired of constant releases of Call of Duty, and they were tired of just bad Call of Duties. Because I'm going to be
Bad
honest,
maps,
Cold War was
lack of
was
content,
was
huge
okay.
emphasis on the
Well,
shops
and-
and everything. That's what people are tired of.
And the
Yes.
thing comes back to like, why am I going to pay $60 or $70 now every year for a new Call of Duty that's going to be good for like 6 months until people fall off of it, when I could just have Warzone for free?
Yep.
And the thing about Warzone, like
2
they
supposedly is coming out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
that'll
that's
be
supposed
free
to be coming. The thing
Yeah.
with Warzone 2 is that they entice you to get it because of like that you can unlock the new guns. But they also again kind of shot themselves in the foot where it's like if someone likes a gun, they could just wait for like a cool skin for it to come into the shop, and then
Yep.
they could just spend like $20 on that. And then they have that one gun that they really liked from the new game, and they saved like $40-50.
Yep.
And they got a cool skin, and they got some cool cosmetics for a game that they're been playing. They play every day after work, you know what I mean, or every day after school.
Yeah.
That was their fun little spending spree to spend on one gun, and they don't have to worry about the rest. You know, like it's great for us, the consumer, because we could just pick and choose what we want. But it's also like, I don't know. It's just too much Call of Duty. I really felt like once they did Warzone, they were going to slow down on Call of Duty releases, because I was like, Modern Warfare 2019, amazing multiplayer. I loved it. I don't care what anyone says. I know people in the comments. And there's so many people on Twitter. There's some fat haters for that game. But that is the best Call of Duty ever made. I will defend it with my life. And I was like, good. They reached the spot where they don't have to sell another Call of Duty because people are just going to spend money on Warzone. They can wait a couple years, and then Cold War came out,
and they
and
didn't.
it was man, and then Vanguard came out and it was poo. And
Yep.
it's like, yeah, there's hype behind Modern Warfare 2, but
Well, and going
They need to
all
slow
the
down.
way back, going all the way back to originally the whole thing that we're talking about here in the first place was Microsoft and their management and everything. You know, you'd be surprised to find out that a lot of gamers or a lot of people that play consoles and everything don't follow the news like we do or any of our
Yeah.
viewers do,
Yep.
right? And so for anyone like Chin, like you talked about where your friends ask you, you know, I don't have any consoles. If I can only buy one, which one do I buy, right? And they see the advertisements that it's coming, right? That Starfield's coming, that Red Zone, is that what it's called?
Redfall.
Redfall,
Red
right? Red Zone, whatever. You have to come up War Zone and all this, whatever. Anyway,
That's how much we care about
they
that
see,
game.
They
Go
see,
ahead.
they see the advertisement that, hey, you're gonna be able to play this in holiday 2022, right? Or maybe they caught they heard it from somewhere, or they saw a snippet or something like that, where it's like, oh, you'll be able to play these now, and they're all super excited for it now. And now with the delayed and they don't hear about it, like maybe they don't catch up on the news or anything like that, and then it comes around the time they're like, where's the game that I thought I could play on my console, right?
Yeah.
Like
And
where's this first party game that I'm supposed to do? So
like and on top of that, like remember when Microsoft was ramping up to the Series X and the Series S, they were like are you ready, because we're gonna have
all these games.
a game every 3 months. You're gonna have something new to play on
I
Game
remember
Pass,
that.
new big first party title every 3 months. And
I think it's like every quarter.
they've done that's every quarter, like every 3
Yeah,
months.
that's what
every
they wanted.
quarter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
you're right.
been in how many quarters is it now? It's six quarters since the releases come out, and they've had 2 games come out.
Something like that. Yeah. And again, we sound like a broken record when we say this. We don't want them to make their people have crunch. We know the pandemic hits, we know this, but there have been ways that other companies and other developers have worked around that to either have this constant communication with the higher ups, or in terms of the pandemic, where, you know, obviously it'll take a little bit longer, but they're in a little bit more relaxed home setting, or they've been given the materials, but also just being able to actually work from home and work on that stuff. And unfortunately, it hasn't really worked out so much for Microsoft, it seems.
Yeah, it's just it's very clear that they definitely need to restructure things
Yes, they need
to make
restructure.
use of like the talent that they have, because they have a lot of talent. There are a lot of great devs at some of these companies, but like it's clear that like time is not being allocated the right way to achieve the right goals because no one has a clear vision of what is going to make things work, right? We talked, we did the Witch Queen review a while back, right? And Destiny has always had a rocky history. Talon knows this, Chin knows this too, right? When Luke Smith was in charge, that guy kind of didn't know how to take charge. Not that he's a bad guy or anything. He didn't know how to take charge and didn't go, this is my vision and this is what we need to get to. He would go like, hey, what's everybody want to do?
What's everyone feeling, essentially, right?
Yeah, and then he would let people kind of do whatever they want, right? And it's just not something as a creative director for anything that you can do, right? If you're in charge of making a huge project, right, you need to be the one to go, we need this, we don't need this.
Right.
That's
and it's not to say that, you can't get ideas from your team. Obviously, that's the whole point of having a team, right? I mean, heck, way smaller here with 5.9. Technically, in terms of positions, I'm the head of 5.9 Direct, but I'm constantly asking you guys for opinions, your thoughts. Who wants to do this? Who wants to do this? But at the end of the day, I said, okay, guys, I need someone to make this. I need someone to do this. And we go with it, right?
You know what the biggest difference probably is you don't have an ego. And who's to say that a lot of those higher ups of Microsoft making big bucks because they get a fancy title and a position aren't just consumed by their own egos. It could be something as simple as that. As simple as that. And they don't want to take advice from someone else. They don't want to take advice. We don't know it all. Obviously, like I understand you don't want to be transparent about that stuff. You don't want to be transparent about that kind of stuff. But like Lethal said, like you guys were saying, it's like, God, their plaster on Twitter at 9 a.m. on a Thursday was so corporate.
Well, it's
so void of care.
Remember Anthem? Remember after that game came out and everything, and then Jason Schreier had his huge article about what happened and everything. Remember how they brought in the Austin team for BioWare? They brought in another team that had worked on games similar to this, and they said, "No, we're the main team. You're here to help, not to give us advice." That is literally what I just thought of when you said that. I'm like, yeah, I can see it. Yep.
Yes.
It wouldn't be surprising to me, right?
And that like creates all sorts of problems, as we saw with Anthem, right? Like Anthem is one of those travesties where, man, that game was, me and Chin played that game together a bunch. It was super fun.
So much. It's so fun.
It was so fun, but like there was like 4 missions that you could play, and it's like,
well, when you can't talk about supposedly your own competition, they barred that in their studios and everything. It's like, why would you want to talk about the competition and see what they've done wrong or where they messed up so you don't make that same mistake? Or again,
or where they went right.
The own side team that worked on Star Wars, The Old Republic and everything like that, right? Was dealt with this stuff. Why not take advice from that? Like,
it's one of those things, and that is part of like the ego problem, right? If people get all up in their own business, let's say, and they go, well, yeah, I'm the boss here, I know what's going on, because they stumbled their way into a position. What are they gonna do when they actually have to like make those hard decisions and they're not prepared for it, right? And then they think that they're the ones who are like making all this great stuff happen, when really it's the team, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
And guys, we're gonna get a showcase in 2 weeks, and we look stupid. Maybe they're dropping some crazy stuff. And that's the thing, is we don't know their plans. For all we know, they're dropping GoldenEye Remake. It's gonna drop the same day as the event, and I'm gonna sit here and be like, I'll take it back, bro. I take back the bullshit, because you dropped GoldenEye Remake or something. All right, I'll take it.
I think most of us have said this before. And Jen, go ahead and talk after this real quick.
A
lot of us have said this before, probably in the past on our own or here or anything like that. If we get proven wrong, great. That is better for the consumer. You get more games. You have more to look forward to. You really think we love sitting here and being like, what the heck is going on? Right? No,
we're not complaining about good things.
Right. We want to complain about the good things. I want to be sitting here going like, man, Battlefield did and then Chin's going off on one game and Lethal's going off on another, and we're going like, no. That's what we want to be hyped for these games. But then unfortunately this stuff kind of happens here.
The problem I want to go, man, I really am having a hard time not buying an Xbox with my credit card right now. That is a problem I want. Like, and I
You
technically don't have to
it.
because you just get Game Pass on PC, but hey.
Yeah, I know. I have a PC that's going to run it better anyway. But like, you know, sometimes I'm in bed. I want to just chill and vibe with the controller.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And like, if I'm playing PlayStation games, I'm like, great. Like, Chin does that all the time. He just bought a super nice PC and he's like playing his PlayStation all the time because he just likes to vibe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's fine. Sometimes I want to do, like, there have been times where I'm like playing Halo Infinite on my PC and I'm like, man, I would kill to be able to play this in bed. But I'm not going to go buy at least a $300 console, if not a $500 console, to play it, right? Because it's not that good. Like, yeah, sure, it'd be fun, but it's not that good that I'm going to spend all that money to play it, right?
To warrant the price, essentially, right?
Exactly.
So.
Versus, like my PlayStation stuff, man, like, oh, I had to buy a PS4 or PS5 to play God of War. Yeah, I'll do that. Because God of War is awesome, and then Spider-Man, and then Horizon, and and like, you know,
Spider-Man.
It's like, I swear, Microsoft, listen to me here. If you put out great stuff, I will buy your stuff. Like, really, I'll go like this.
Yeah, he just turned his light green.
How long have you been waiting to do?
Crazy.
I just thought of it. I saw my remote right here.
That is crazy.
You had it.
I'm like flipping my mind too. That's so funny.
Like easy sell to me, right? That's why I have a Switch. Yeah. That's why I have a PlayStation. Like, bring the games. That's all it comes down to. And that comes down, like, for any platform that's ever been released. That's why I had a Sega as a kid, because Sonic was awesome, right? Like, so I had a Nintendo because Zelda and Mario were awesome, and I wanted to play all of it. And I don't feel like I can do that right now with Xbox. This is a really sickly color green, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah, but you go back to that blue.
That way, But yeah, for the most, Chin's got it now too. So for the most part,
he's like, I don't know how to do this.
My remote just happened to be sitting here, and I was like, you know what? Green button. So with all of that being said, like, Xbox needs to change things up because they're not delivering on the big stuff that they promised. They promised a lot. And I was like, you know what? If they do this, if they pull this off, they're going to pull out of that rut they were in the whole Xbox One generation.
It would be the 360 versus PS3 era again, essentially, is what, you know, because you saw that all the time, right? Like, you saw, okay, 360, PS3, Xbox was clearly ahead of them. Obviously, PS3 still had great games, but 360 was clearly ahead. Then it swapped, right? Xbox One versus PS4. PS4 clearly was ahead of the times for that, right? And then everyone's like, okay, all these promises they made with the Xbox One, and now it's time for Xbox to come back in it, right?
Yeah, like
where are those games, right?
That's all I'm saying. We just need some games. We just need games. That's all.
Yeah.
Games. Yeah.
If you want to save yourself some trouble, just get a Switch. You're even good if you have a Switch.
Honestly, get a PC. I mean, honestly, if you really want to do it, just get PC, get a Switch, get a PlayStation, because guess what? You can get Xbox Game Pass on PC. Honestly.
Yeah. I think the last thing I could say about it is that it's gonna be really hard, damn near impossible, for Xbox to be on top of this generation when we're 2 years in and their biggest title, which was Halo, was hot garbage.
But they're lucky that PlayStation can't get more PS5s out there. That's also like the other part of that, where it's like you're so lucky because PlayStation is suffering from hardware sales. Like, they're not getting their numbers are not doing good.
I would not be surprised if PlayStation had, like, if the hardware and the chip shortage and all that stuff, if that wasn't happening, it would be insane.
They're so lucky. They're so like the timing is just bad.
Not buy an Xbox.
It'd be 2.5 to 1 at least, I think.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what is it, like 1.8 to 1 right now?
Something like
that.
It'd
be at least 2.5.
It'd be so much higher. It'd be so much higher. It honestly would. So, all
right,
guys. I think we've rambled on long enough here, though. We're gonna go ahead and end the podcast. This always happens to us, right? We were thinking like good time, and then all of a sudden,
it's okay.
By. So, anyway, regardless, though, let us know your thoughts down in the comments, everybody, when it came to the topics we talked about here on the podcast. Again, timestamps will be down below and everything like that. If you missed something, you can go back and check it out. Let us know all your thoughts down below. Leave a like if you liked the podcast. And again, sub for it if you want to see more of these. And we obviously got the playlist in the top right corner. You can go and check out the other ones as well. And I think without further ado, that should be it. Unless you guys have anything else you guys want to mention.
Nope, I'm done.
Nope.
My Xenoblade.
Wait till the showcase. That's
Buy
it.
Xenoblade, there we go.
And
Yeah,
that.
my Xenoblade, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not
Sub
gonna.
to the channel as well, because we will be covering the entire Xbox showcase, and here's hoping they can head out of the park. So anyway, guys, I've been Talon with Final Game Direct, and again, joined by Chin, Lethal, LittleBobby, and we'll see you guys on the next podcast and all future videos. Until next time, everyone. Join it.